Are we now? We're live. Oh, there you.
We're live?
Warning. The following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
That's for you.
Viewer discretion
Good.
is advised.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever you are today. Thanks for joining us again. I lost track 7, 8, 9, 15, whatever. This is an episode following the one last week and before the one next week from Whispered Insights. I am incredibly tickled pink today to welcome a really good friend from the old days and one of the probably most interesting practitioners that I met in doing this work with CRM and CX in a very long time. I will not destroy his reputation and let him do his own introduction, but basically, needless to say, business doesn't happen in Latin America unless he approves. So, Mr. Jesus Hoyos.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining. And as a topic reminder, today we're talking about data governance. And the reason that I asked Jesus is because he is in touch and working with some of the largest global brands, Latin America, South Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America, unless I left something out or you picked up something in Antarctica that I didn't know about. But he's been working all over the world and he's been talking to executives all over the world. And the topic that he most often talks about is data governance. And I figured that it would be a good idea to have a conversation about this. So, did I get right the introduction? Is that what you do?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, you're right. I do a lot. And I think the description is right. I'm a practitioner. I'm a doer. I get behind the hood. And trying to understand. What are those pieces that are connected. To put all these ecosystem and platforms together from
Yeah.
the customer engagement perspective. So so whatever it means, to integrate ad tech, martech, CRM, call centers, back office, e-commerce, customer journeys, all that is part of what I do in different regions. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, I could ask you a stupid question to start, such as what is data governance or does data matter? But we assume because we know that data governance matters and data matters. So let's get into what are your conversations? What are the top two, three, four, five, pick a number, things that you get asked and you discuss with executives around the world when it comes to data issues?
Yeah, actually, let me give you two use cases, two examples that will drive into data governance, hence data quality. The first one is when we discuss the hype of artificial intelligence is whatever is happening in the states and whatever is happening in the rest of the world, outside United States. So whatever I'm mentioning today, I'm coming from the perspective of outside United States,
Mm-hmm.
which traditionally we think of best practices standards is something that we want to apply, but based on my experience, those best practices and standards are truly best practices when you apply them and you learn from that. Okay, and something that is always missing is data quality. Is a big mystery. Nobody wants to tackle that, and and the reason is obvious. Is budget. It takes a lot of money and time and resources to take care of data quality. So when we talk about data governance, we always look at what is the how accurate the data is in the different system, especially the customer data. Okay, do we have consistencies with that data? Okay, and if the data is complete, that is complete. Okay, and going back to the two use cases I want to mention, the first one is we can apply customer journeys. We can apply artificial intelligence
Mhm.
to figure out the best time to send an email in a customer journey. But are we going to use the data that and the email capabilities and the AI and the data that you have, for example, in your customer journey tool, or do we look into what you have in your CRM? The emails that go out and come back via Gmail or Outlook, or you're going to look at marketing automation and the emails that go out. Do you need that data? Is your data complete in those three
So,
systems? Your data consistent and complete?
but is that what most companies have? Three different data sources and three different repositories, or do they have a common repository with the data that could be used by all three?
No, no. Who said that?
I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
No, I
It's a
mean,
it's a it's a
we've
lead to a
been
much bigger question. So I mean,
we've
so you're
been
saying
we've
that
been trying.
nobody has?
Well, we've been trying to do that, through from ages. I do remember, from my good old days in Informix. You know, uh, I used to put together marketing databases just to do that, just to understand what the customer. Now we have more sophistication. We have MDMs, we have CDPs, we have data lakes. We are moving.
Yeah,
People today are moving. Whatever they have in terms of data from on premise to the cloud. Okay. and
yeah.
but they're still trying to figure out how to clean those emails and be sure the data around those emails in three different systems to have consistency with the customer in terms of experience. We're not even looking at that.
But
And
but
then
but
and
the,
then on top of that, we're being told now that we have to use AI, to figure out the best time that we need to send an email. Based on what? I mean, and,
well,
and a lot of
but
customers are
that's
asking me, if I do that on one particular system, how about the other system? Do I have all the data? And I ask the simple question. That the simple question. Do you know today how complete your data is? Do you have a 90%,
yes.
85%,
I have yes.
95%,
I have
and nobody
yes.
knows?
Yes, I have a CDP. Somebody sold me a CDP 2 years ago. My IT team installed it like a year and a half ago, and it's aggregated everything. Or I have a data lake, or a data warehouse, or I have a boathouse, or I have, everybody has a million of these fucking things. I mean, how come they don't have one central source of data for everything yet?
But that's fine. You can have that, but the trip from that data comes out from all these different systems to your CDP or data warehouse. That trip, you need to be sure that data gets there clean. And
But
a lot of people,
no. That was not the idea. The idea was the CDP was going to put everything into one place. It's going to be only
yeah,
one
but
place for everything.
if you look at all, yeah, but you look at all the vendors and all the tools that you have out there, they tell that they harmonize the data. I don't know what that means yet. The data needs to be clean in order to be harmonized. Yes, you can harmonize the Spanish date with the English date, or October, December dates. You have a switch. You can harmonize that. You can switch currencies and do basic stuff, and that's fine. But to clean the data, understand that you have a good profiling of your data, first, last name, addresses, multiple emails, multiple phone numbers. And this is the thing, Esteban. We're still dealing with legacy technologies and legacy terms. And let me explain you this. In a marketing automation system, we still are an email, and that email is the key. That's wrong. That was 20 years ago when
Yeah.
when that was fine. Now, in a traditional CRM system, you are not a customer. You are a lead or an account with an opportunity or a shopping cart. Okay, you are not yet
But
a
if it,
customer. And then
but
when you
the,
move, to your traditional customer journey tools, you are a subscriber. Okay, a subscriber to an email, to SMS, to a WhatsApp, to a push notification, to an app. And you need to combine all that. And you need to be sure that the data around that person needs to have the three basic components. And you need to understand, if your data, how's the accuracy of your data, is your data consistent, and how complete is your data. And and there's methodologies, there's tools out there to do that, but people need to invest that. And I still ask the question: do you know what is the percentage of your data quality? How good your data quality? What is the profile of your customers? Because if you're gonna do, CX, if you're gonna do predictive whatever, machine learning, you're gonna do AI, you need to be sure that you have that in place. You need to understand your data. You need to understand your data. And people pass the buck, and there's no, we're still talking about, you need to have a chief customer officer or a chief data
Yeah,
officer.
that's
But
worthless. Yeah.
I don't see it yet. I haven't seen somebody say, I have a chief data officer. We're going to fix that. That's a foundation. Then we bring knowledge base. Then we need
All right.
videos. Then we need, whatever you
So,
need to
so
bring in terms of content to do your AI.
So 25 years after CRM entered the stage, we're still dealing with dirty data as the number one problem. Fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. And that comes back to my second use case. I talk about, emails, but there's the scoring. Okay. If you're going to do a scoring based off customer behavior, you know which scoring are you going to use? The one in your CRM system, the one that you have in your martech, the one that you have, outside somewhere with AI. What happens when that model changes? How the model is going to learn? Because the scoring needs to be across the lifetime of the customer. When the scoring stop, and then when you start applying customer lifetime value or whatever other metrics that you have with AI, to be sure that AI is going to help you. And if you don't have the foundation of the data and maintain that data clean, then when you augment that with your large language models with knowledge bases and videos and all the stuff, people still asking me, how do I put this together, and I said, don't forget about the data science. That's fine. Get the guy who's going to clean the data, organize it, tag it, your own data, your internal data. Okay. That's, you need to understand where you are with that, and you need to have data governance. And there's associations, there's methodology, there's everything's out there. And people need to put, they need to, show them the budget. They need to put money on it. Resources, technology, and people and people and people.
So it's not. I mean, Sven makes a good point there, right? 80% of the data is customer related. I would say 98%, but whatever. Let's leave it at 80% for now. But the CDP was the promise behind the CDP was going to be not the harmonizing, but the aggregation and the centralization and the single source of truth and everything. Did that promise not come through then? Or are we not really seeing the value from CDPs that we thought we would see?
But unless you have a good CDP that provides, data governance and data quality, traditionally, that's another product. So if you think about the CDP strategy, yes, as long as you have the data governance in there.
Yeah, CDP cannot provide data quality and data cleanup. That's, well, like you said, not even 30 seconds ago. That's people. I mean, even AI cannot do that well.
I know, but I work with vendors that they have the CDP and they have the data quality. Yes, you need people. This is you need people. You need people to clean it, to maintain it. The data stewards. You need a complete organization. You need a data culture, all that kind of stuff. But if we look at the technology point of view, I haven't seen yet the CDP says I'm going to clean your data. From the technology point of view, I have this module here that will do profiling, and I give you, a dashboard, so every day that you are 90% or you are 85%. You have your data stewards, in different places, cleaning the data, maintaining the data. You need to fix this legacy system. You need to fix that one over there. That's the software to do that, but you need people to manage that. You need culture to manage that.
Look, man, you and I have been working with data and technology for 30 plus years, right? I mean, I started my first gig in CRM in 1997. I had 6 weeks for data cleanup. It took me 6 months because it was such a fucking mess, right? And that's not unusual. That's not unusual. And that was before we had all this data. Now it's 100 times worse, I'm sure, right?
Well, I'll tell you
So
what, it never ends. You
yeah.
know,
And the
not
thing
that,
is, like back then, we used the technology to clean the data. We used the technology to try to keep clean data coming into the system, and we succeeded at best on 70-75%. A really good project today may get like 80-85% of the data clean. That really good project. But the technology alone cannot do it. It's all about people, and for people, you need governance.
well, you
That
need
was
that
my
governance,
segue here. Yeah.
and there's you need precision. What I mean by precision is that you need to understand where you are with your data. So pick a metric, 90%, 80%, 99%, whatever that is, that that your data is going to be clean. Then you start working towards that.
Yeah.
And once you have that precision and that metric, this is something that you constantly are working. In the garbage in, garbage out. So whenever your data is coming in, how your data is coming out. And there's simple stuff that, that we don't do today. Okay. Just validating that you have a good email address, there's already algorithms to do that, and people forget not every CRM system out there validates the email. You got to buy something else, okay, to do that.
Okay.
Validate your phone number, basic stuff. Do you know when I give you my phone number, if it's again, thinking outside United States, if it's a landline or it's a mobile, basic stuff. We forget about that. How many phone numbers do you have? How many emails do you have? Do you prefer to be contacted by WhatsApp or Messenger? All that precise contact information, address, who you are. I mean, that needs to be clean. The last time you contacted me, all that stuff needs to be clean. So if you don't know where you are with those basic fields, in your different systems, okay, you're out of business. You need to understand that your productivity is going to go down and everything. So what I recommend people is that, especially when they start talking to me about AI, I ask the question, how good your data is today. Do you know that? If not, you got to do an audit. So you do a profile of those 5, 6, 7. And before, we used to do like a sample of data, 10, 20%, but now you can do a lot. You can do mostly everything, and that will give you a quality report, so you to understand where you at, okay, and be able then to figure out, oh, I'm okay. I don't need to do a lot of stuff. Maybe I need to do a lot more than what I thought. And that's when you start your data cleaning and everything. And you know what? The most common issue that I find with data quality is duplicates. There is a lot of duplicates, records. Jesus Hoyos is 5 times in your CRM system. Jesus Hoyos is 20 times in your marketing automation system. Jesus Hoyos is a subscriber like 20 times in your system, in your customer journey, whatever. So you need to understand that and figure out how you want to manage. And that means Esteban, again, common sense stuff. This is conversation that I have with CEOs and practitioners, a cup of coffee, now remote. I used to have it over beer, over whiskey. Here we go.
Coffee. There's coffee. It says there's coffee, so there is coffee there for sure. There's nothing else other than coffee.
And by the way, this is my first cup of coffee today because I just came back from Orlando.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks.
But you need to classify your data. You need to have a taxonomy. I was listening to a podcast, all of my back and forward driving to Orlando, Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to how the guys from OpenAI started tagging a lot of the content. And they have a bunch of people, humans, tagging content all over the world, a lot of in Africa. But they put together a taxonomy, okay, and a classification of that data. Do you have that? Simple. This is simple. Simple. What is a campaign? You need to have a taxonomy to define what is a campaign, because in your CRM, a campaign has a different definition. in your marketing automation, in your ad tech, your marketing agency, PR, you have, what is a customer journey, and that needs to be defined, that needs to be, put in place, because all the data values that you are going to tag and everything, they need to be properly
But
defined,
but but that doesn't that throw another wrench into the mechanism? Because I mean, there's not a single campaign initiative in the company. There's not a single any data initiative in the company. So then now we have like 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 different data initiatives, and each one will have their own rules and their own governance and their own approach and their own needs and everything. So that doesn't that make data governance virtually impossible?
Complex. I won't say it's impossible. It's a continuous improvement, and again, in order for you will never control it. You're always going to have issues and problems, but you need to try your best, and you need to be sure that you have the right talent of people and understand that everybody needs to have whatever training in data culture, in maintaining the data, to have that know-how. That doesn't mean that they're going to, like, everybody has a responsibility of clean the data, but to identify issues. But it never ends. I mean, as we have rev ops, we have marketing operations. We need to have, and for the business perspective, we need to have that operations. And part of that data operation is be sure that we maintain the data, and it's complicated. It doesn't matter if the data resides on your CRM system and your CDP or your data lake. Okay, I think it never ends, Esteban. For what I think, and it's difficult to implement. Nobody wants to tackle this because we're selling, we're improving costs, based on what we have. But I think with all the artificial intelligence, where do you know where your data is and how you're going to use it? You need to be sure it's clean. There's legal issues, there's privacy, there's policies, compliance and stuff that now you need to be sure. GDPR. So I mean, all that needs to be applied. I had a question. I had a question from one of the customers who told me, "Hey, Jesus, how about the content that I have from influencers and other people that are not employees? That I'm using those for marketing." And if I'm going to recommend content, can I use that data?
Yeah. So that's kind of where I was going. I mean, there's a lot of issues here, but like let's start at the beginning. Let's say that somebody who's listening to this, or somebody who reports to somebody who needs to make the decision, says, okay, you know what, we need to do this. We need to actually do data governance. I don't know what it is, but we need to do it, right? So then, where do we start? Do we name a chief data officer? Do we establish a data culture? Do we bring technology to clean? Do we like, I mean, you mentioned a lot of things. We bring technology to clean and start going. Where do we start with, like, embracing a concept of data governance, or better yet, I mean, a culture of data governance in the organization, right?
Well, one of the key things that that I tell executive is that you need to have the owner, and you need to find the budget. Okay, if and the first thing is tackle the budgets right away, because the budget means everything: training, technology, people, hiring new people, and then involve HR, bring everybody together, kumbaya, to be sure that you put in there. The moment that you start not doing, putting the budget and showing the return on investment on that budget, and there's many ways how to show that, in especially increasing productivity, then it doesn't become part of the data governance at the executive level. Okay, you can assign somebody, go ahead and clean the data, but if you don't have a budget, corporate budget, not the budget for IT, not the budget for marketing, it's a shared corporate budget. Okay, and it needs to be a CX initiative with the owner. the owner could be, the person who has the power to be sure to execute. That person needs to be empowered. Could be chief data officer or chief whatever, okay? But that person needs to have that. Now, this is what I say. Well, I don't have that amount of money. Let's start with something. Well, let's start a pilot. Let's clean this set of data. Let's put it in practice, and let's figure out, how we sell more, reduce costs, and increase productivity. Okay, don't tackle that you're going to improve customer service. That comes after.
How much is a pilot? Give me an idea. I mean, a percentage of what? A percentage of revenue, percentage of data.
No, we service. We have done data cleansing and pilots. $500,000. It comes down to $50,000 depending on the amount of data, whatever you want to select.
You can't do anything on $50,000, dude. $500,000.
Well, in Latin America, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but
fair.
But let me in other part. But let me put this in perspective. If you take a segment of your top 20 customers, okay, you don't have to clean the whole database, or do data governance for the whole database. You do it for the top 20 segment, loyal customers, okay, and you do a data profiling and you identify that 85% of your data, is okay. Okay, so you need another 15%, and you want to bring that 85 to 90, 95%. There's a pilot. Okay, you train people, you fix a few systems, you do a few things manually, you put all the data quality, you go send people to the data management school, they get trained, all that kind of stuff, and you put it into place. And then you start monitoring, how you increasing sales, how you decreasing costs, okay, and where is the productivity? Productivity is very simple, very simple. And we see this all the time. You call the call center, press 1. Oh, thank you. They capture all the information. They transfer you. They lost you. That's a good pilot to understand. How do you need to clean your data, and pass that information.
Wait.
So there's things in there that you can do from that perspective.
How does clean data would change the fact that an agent transferred to somebody else and didn't move your data along, or that
because
the process?
The moment that I identify you,
yeah.
Okay, I pass that data to the other person. I don't go and retrieve it from where the other system is, because the other system is not ready yet. For the legacy system, you cannot integrate. API are not really good. So I pass that data, and there's technology with call centers, AWS, blah, 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 the cloud, that I can pass that data. They see it in a corner, and they say, Esteban, good morning. How's your coffee?
So even the things that I would not expect to be directly related to data governance, they are basically. I mean, I would expect a transfer to be simple. It's like, I have the data. We both use the same system. The same systems are connected somehow, and I can move the data along. But you're saying if the data is not clean, if I cannot use the right data, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. We done that example. We done it with hotels and call centers and banks. Once you have it, pass that data. Call it customer 360. Call it customer profiling. But if you identify Jesus Hoyos because you know that you have good data about Jesus Hoyos and it's clean, blah blah blah, and you have whatever you need to do to identify and have a good conversation with Jesus Hoyos, pass that data. That data is gonna go around. That doesn't mean that the person behind the scenes, whoever is going to get Jesus Hoyos, that customer 360 screen in a corner with the good data, is going to go ahead and clean. It's going to go ahead and find me, hey, Esteban, how you doing? I'm over here. I type in the phone number, but you don't know that. I'm not asking you to type your phone number again. I'm not asking you. I'm having a conversation over coffee while I search for you. And this is important. Every record that you have, doesn't matter where, should have a metric of the percentage of how clean the data is. Because, if in a corner, that you're 90% 95% plus, that your data is clean, 95% plus, I have confidence as an employee
Okay,
that I can
so
have a conversation
that's
with you.
so that's moving forward. Thanks for moving this along. So let's say that we got clean data. I know we don't, and everybody, like, we have only 30 minutes to cover the rest of data governance. So let's say that we actually have systems in place, processes in place. We're moving towards cleaner data. We have 85% clean data, and now we can actually display that confidence level as part of the record. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So this is great, because now whenever I get data on my screen, I can see whether it's like, like you said, let's say we did a pilot with the top 20 and it's 85% clean, the rest is 60% clean. I get a customer record on the screen and it says 85% clean or 60% clean, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is so much more interesting than just all the boring data governance stuff. Now we're actually going somewhere. We got a data cleanup process in place. We clean the data. We tell you how clean it is, and
that's part of the culture. That's part of the empowerment.
Okay.
That's part of telling people, hey, look how good this record is whatever 90 plus percent. Keep it clean, okay?
Yeah.
And you have there's processes and everything to be sure that everybody will keep it clean, okay? And that gives oh my goodness, as an employee, I know who Jesus is now.
I know what he bought this year, no, last decade. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't need to do this for all your database. You do this for your top 20. And then you start rolling out this. As you progress.
Okay.
And you make life easier you empower people to understand how clean the data is.
So
whatever that definition that you have, that's why important. I mean, you go back. You as executive for your company. Besides understanding, how much are you selling and reducing costs and productivity and whatever you do, you need to be sure that you understand that your data, is the accuracy of your data is there. There's consistency of the data is complete. Okay, those three things needs to be across all your data governance strategy.
Yeah, complete.
Okay. And that applies today to videos, knowledge bases,
Well,
images.
we're gonna get to that. Okay, we're gonna get to that in a second. But this is something cool because so governance so far has been about like understanding that I have a lot of data, finding the way to integrate it and harmonize it, like you said, which is a stupid fucking word if I heard it. It's harmonized data to something that we don't know what it is. And then now we clean it up and keep it clean and actually begin to use it, right? So far we got to a point where we're actually using the data. So then what's next in data governance? I mean, if I do all this stuff and I invest, in the United States, this is gonna cost me $2 to $5 million probably, and a couple of years to do. I'm just taking a wild guess here, stuff in the dark from people that I talk to, right? So I invested 2-3 years and like $1 million and a half, and I have clean data I'm using it. And then isn't that the end of data governance? Do I need to worry about anything else after that?
No, it never ends. Data is moving constantly.
Well, but data governance, no data. Data could move, but if I have the processes in place and I have the rules and the procedures and I have the culture and I have the chief data officer and everything, isn't that like the end of data governance?
Yeah, well, who owns the data at the very end?
Well, that's it. That was the last part of the show.
Well,
let's go into that. No, let's go into that. That's perfectly. That's a great follow-up. Yeah.
So as long as you understand as a company that you have data is your data in the company, but if you know that data is going to evolve based on what I do on my clicks, the data that I give you, the phone calls that I make, the profile that changes, all the data points that are going to change, you need to be constantly, adapting. Okay. Yeah. It never ends. It's constantly adapting, and now, now that, we're moving from emails, to social media, all the digital channels, AI, eventually, the metaverse and whatever comes down the line, and I think we spoke about this, data is everywhere, commerce is everywhere. You have to be prepared to be everywhere, and your data governance as you progress, needs to be everywhere.
Okay.
Eventually, my what I hope is that you know data needs to be embedded, somehow. And let me give you one example. Without mentioning vendors, I have a CRM. And what does it mean to validate that I have good data? Well, in the moment that I have embedded the technology or the code to fix the email or to validate the email, I just don't validate the email in the data entry point. Like, I go to a telling a bank and say, hey, I changed my email. You
Mhm.
enter in there, and I'm going to give you two emails, my Yahoo and my service email. Which one is which one? I don't know. But at that moment, once you validate that, you take that email, and that email needs to travel everywhere through data lakes, through CDP, through integration, whatever is your technology,
Yeah.
whatever you have, and that needs to go everywhere. And that's going to evolve because eventually, we are not going to communicate via emails. It's going to be something else, whatever that is. So you need to be in all your touch points, in your omni channels, in your nodes of communication. You need to be sure that as the moment you capture that change or that possibility that the data is going to be corrupted, you need to fix it at that moment. Don't wait 36 hours. Don't wait another 30 days.
Okay.
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 And it's not easy to do, but it's part of what I believe companies need to start doing.
And then basically every single new system or solution that I bring online needs to adapt, needs to be able to like use that single source of truth and the single data repository, blah blah blah, and use the same data rules and everything, right? So if tomorrow I bring uh I don't know, an online an AI tool, right? There's so many AI tools today. Let's say that tomorrow I bring an AI tool to like predict the second page they're gonna go to on my website. That new tool needs to actually look into and use the same data, right? So every time that I bring a new solution or something, we need to figure this out, right?
Yeah, I mean, and give me, the traditional use case. Where do you find duplicates? Do you find duplicates in your customer service, or do you find duplicates, in the entry point when you do marketing, or you find duplicates, when you're about to send a campaign? Uh, who's responsible to finding duplicates? What logic are you going to use to find duplicates? Is Jesus
Forget.
Hoyos, the person who has a checking account, a personal checking account, a duplicate in a bank, or Jesus Hoyos, who also has, a commercial account in a bank? Are those two sets of data values with different emails? So when you're using AI, AI needs to understand that that data is coming clean. If not, AI needs to clean it, whatever that means, to be sure that we'll execute it properly, because to who you're going to communicate. So I think, the fact that a lot of, this lately, all the CRM companies are talking about embedded AI, we need to look into that very careful, because what that
We
means,
do.
I don't know what that means,
So let's go down that road. I mean, Sven made a comment, said Web3 will change data governance. There you go. Web3 will change data governance. Without going into the details of Web3 is or what it's not, right? To me, Web3 is distribution. So, uh, but this is the part where AI becomes a problem more than a solution, because for AI needing clean data, right? And then the reason it becomes an issue is zero knowledge, know your customer KYC, first party, second party, third party data, unknown partners, relationships, cloud, existing data that comes from nowhere, structured, unstructured, all these different classifications of data that you need to use, used by different, used by different people and owned by different people. You said before the customer owns the data. So let's talk a little bit about data ownership and the using that data, right? If you don't own the data, what can you do about it? Why would you implement data governance if you don't in data that you don't own that can change at any moment?
Man, I have so many examples of this, especially lately with going to the hospital with my mother and trying to then to talk to me versus to talk to my mother.
Yeah.
because they know the patient, but they don't know who's the person who needs to talk to my mother to be sure that we make the right decisions. And I was thinking
You
about
mean, you
this.
mean on the patient side, on your mom's
Yeah, on
side,
the
right?
patient
Not, yeah.
side, and I asked
I
that
would have to know
question.
which doctor. I would have to know which doctor needs to talk to your mom. But
No, and it's funny because when I heard Larry Ellison on his keynote talk about all the data that is in a hospital that is shared physically, but it's not
yeah.
shared in a way that you understand what's happening. I think we all own the data. It's a puzzle. And there's no one owner. We have many owners, and we need to be sure that it has to be consistent. It's not easy to do, but at the very end, somebody needs to facilitate the data governance. Okay. And many people will own different pieces of the data depending of compliance, legal issues, privacy, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, but I think probably the best way to approach this is that the company needs to be the facilitator to be sure the data, yes, in order to sell more and reduce costs, fix your data, but at the very end, you need to be a facilitator of that. That probably will be the best explanation that probably I can think of right now of who owns the data. We have to be facilitators. We have different owners, that are going to all help each other pull this Lego that you can put it together. It looks good, but it might crumble. You take the pieces out of it.
But so actually, that's a good point. I mean, if we are facilitators, right? I mean, we're not owners; we're facilitators. Doesn't that bring legal implications as part of governance also that we need to address?
A lot of, especially with Web3, because if you know, I think the if data is going to get to the point that it's going to be, there's no friction. I'm going to give you data because based on my behavior, because you're reading my eyeball, finger, whatever we're using today,
Oh,
wearables.
yeah,
But
we
listen,
never know.
Esteban,
Yeah,
during COVID, my daughter calls me. He said, just calls me and she said, pay attention to my text, and she sent me, a screenshot. She went to a wedding through all these metaverse tools, a real wedding. She
yeah.
was a character. Okay, and when I was looking into that, he said, all the different data points, when she's, besides logging in the user and password, everything was frictional. Everything was based on what she was moving and going to this place and moving to the other place, and there's, you're giving data at that moment as well. So do we need to be prepared to receive that data? That data is going to come in different ways. Forget the traditional ways. So yeah, you need to have a facilitator.
Okay, but then again, the question is who has to handle or who makes the decisions when it comes to the legality of accessing, using, storing, and distributing the data? Is that the same person? Is part of the governance to make the decisions
It
on
needs to be part of the
ownership?
team, but it needs to be legal and compliance.
Okay, so then now
Period.
we
I
have a
mean,
chief data officer that has overlaps with legal and
no,
compliance.
no. The chief data officer needs to talk to compliance. Now,
Okay,
compliance and the legal people, they need to get trained on data. They need to get trained, on user experience. They need to understand everything else so they can really understand whatever compliance you have to do locally. Everybody needs to understand data at a given point. Okay, not
okay,
everything, but they need to understand enough so they understand where they at, what they're doing with that data. But rely on compliance. Rely on compliance. I'm dealing so much with compliance and legal people lately. You know, from especially in banks and hospitals. From putting together an email and having the right data on the email, the right content on the email. Where is the store? Who's going to see it? Who's going to have access? How you going to deliver that? What happens if they click, they don't click? Do you have the right person? Are you sure you are delivering to the right person? GDPR, all, every time that we have to do a campaign, in compliance rich industries, is a pain, and that takes forever. That takes forever to execute. So those people needs to be part of that facilitation process. The compliance department, legal people.
Okay, so okay, so far we have a person in place who sets the culture, sets the rules, cleans up the data, make sure that it's compliant, and then overlaps with basically every single other stakeholder in the company that wants to use data, because doesn't matter where the data resides or where it's from. You should still want to make sure that it's used clean data that is complete, consistent, and accurate, like you said, right? So then now we're like invested probably 6 months to 2 years and a couple $1 million in just setting up the basic infrastructure for this. We're not even talking about like processing the data. We're talking about setting up the basic infrastructure, technologies, resources, training. You mentioned training, right? On all this stuff. So then what? Wait, we're 2 years in, and I still haven't done anything different than I've been doing, unless I did a couple pilots. But for the most part, it's still the same. So then I have a good infrastructure now. I know where my data is coming from, where it resides, where it's going, how to use it. I know that it's clean. I know that it's compliant. I know that everybody's trained. I know that the culture is clean. Then
you should be you on Google, you on Amazon and Facebook. You understand the data, so you should be able to do more segmentation, more audiences, and be right on point, and be able to do a lot of more predictive modeling, and be able to rely on data to make decisions every day. Data that is coming from one place, not from Excel, not from PowerPoint, not from 20 sources. And you have to do that constantly. You're going to get to that mature state to be able to do that. I've seen that in some of my projects with some of the customers that, with 20, 10%. And if they improve sales or reduce costs 1%, 2%, everybody's happy. That's the bottom line. Okay,
1%,
consistency.
1%. I'm investing 2 to 5 years and then $2 to $5 million in infrastructure and corporate changes to get a 1% reduction in management.
Well, and you might see that sooner. I was in a project that the return on investment of a complete data quality / conversion into a new CRM ecosystem. The return was 5 years, but as we cleaned the data, it was part of the project. It wasn't an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
It was part. We have people trained and everything. I took like 5 months to clean the data. Going out, rolling out every weekend or so. Okay, just by having the data clean and not relying on putting advertising, digital advertising, but to everybody buy now. We were more targeted. The project paid itself in 6 months, and was a nice surprise.
So what do we do for the next 4.5 years?
Oh, they're still selling. They're still focusing. They're still focusing now. But this is the thing. People come and buy. So you need to be sure that you keep. This is the challenge. People learn and they leave. So you need to retain that talent. And that's the biggest issue that I see right now. They learn, you have the good data scientists, the people, the data steward, the data coach and everything, and those people go to other places to do the same thing. And they rotate because there's no enough resources, to do this. It's a challenge. Okay. Yeah. So and it's a cycle 7, because people leave to other projects.
Okay. So this is not looking good so far. Let me tell you this. You're asking for $5 million, 5 years, and to do something that people will get it right, and then they'll leave and have to start all over again, or like train people or whatever, right? But we got about 10 minutes, and we need to talk about AI, which we'll get to in a second. But I like where we are, to be honest. I like the fact that we have the right people, the right processes, the right procedures, the right technology. We distribute it to the stakeholders. Everybody's kind of using it to a certain event, for better, for worse, contributing. Everybody has the right idea and culture and training. So now here comes AI and throws the final wrench into the machine here, right? I mean, we were doing fine before AI, and now AI requires 2x to 20x the amount of data and like, analytics. And we have a whole different conversation later, right? But, so what do we do with AI then? I mean, how do we make sure that there's value delivered for that versus being just another, shiny bit that takes a lot of resources away?
Well, number one, you need to understand, like everybody's saying, understand your use case. Okay. But besides understand your use case, you need to understand, if you have an inventory of your data, perfect. If you don't, you need to go out there and figure out what you have. How many knowledge bases, how many videos, how many images, where are the customer records, how many systems, because your AI is going to work based on your own data, the one that you have in your system. You don't need to go outside, to start. That's where you need to understand, your inventory. Second, okay, you need to understand the cost of maintaining and cleaning that inventory of your data and the cost of using that data, because now we're talking tokens. Okay. So, whatever model that you're going to have, you're going to spend money, and you most likely are going to be using, the models that comes with your CRM system, MarTech, customer journey system, with a combination with your own model. So you need to decide how that's going to work, and you got to do proof of concept and proof of concept and proof of concept. Now listen, I've seen this already before ChatGPT and all the others. I've seen CRM system that tells you here's your scoring. Scoring is like very high. The opportunity hasn't closed. And I've seen the other way around. When I look at it, there's no data. So how is this working? There's no training data in your own CRM system. So people say, okay, so now let's export data from everywhere and let me put my own scoring system to look at as well, bring the data in and figure that out. This is the basic example that I see. I don't have the data. Let's look at the lookalikes on Facebook.
No, I'm sorry. Can you? I'm sorry. So I don't have data to know if this is going to close or not. So we're going to see what you like on Facebook to complement the scoring.
Yeah, you rely on Salesforce to find your lookalikes because you don't have data in your system. You don't have the historical data in your system. So you upload all your emails or your phone numbers.
But if you don't have the historical data, what's a lookalike to bad data?
I know, but
that's this is the thing that kills me.
But Esteban, that's the thinking. But that's the thinking out there because I need to sell to tomorrow.
Hold on. When I did my first data cleanup project 30 years ago, the two biggest victims of the data cleanup project were Mickey Mouse and Bill Gates, because those are the names that everybody uses when they want to use bullshit names, right?
Yeah.
Today, we still have the same fucking problem.
Yeah.
Today, people still let Bill Gates and Mickey Mouse be part of the database. And then what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go on Facebook and say, bring me a lookalike to Mickey Mouse? And I'm gonna get what, Minnie Mouse? Donald Duck? Goofy?
I know, and today I can tell you right now that the problem still persists with phone numbers. People will just put whatever phone numbers in the landing page so you don't call them back. Or they put whatever email so that you call them back. And I've seen people using the month's emails or the dad emails in universities. There's everything out there. So
right.
I still, people need to do pilots. People need to do proof of concepts to understand that, where they are with the AI, and close that gap with the status, of the state of your data, and I'm talking here, AI using customer data. I'm not talking here using AI to put together a message in an email.
No. I'm talking about the very, very big. But then can we? I will make this statement, but can you support the statement that most companies should not get into AI because they don't have the data to power AI properly?
Well, they need to.
I'm saying that. I'm not putting that in your mind. I'm saying that. I'm saying most companies should not get into AI because the data they have is not sufficiently managed.
I have a bigger concern. Do people have the right skill set and the right budget to start doing AI?
No, they don't. But that's a different question because we deal with that after we know. Look, if you're going to build a house, right? You need blueprints. before you even like do anything else. I mean, you can't just go to Home Depot and buy 2x4s and like nails and start putting together some shit and call it a house. You need some plan. You need something. And the first part of the blueprint is like understand the terrain, understand how everything flows. It's the same thing here, how everything fits and everything. So I mean,
I agree.
so people, so forget the skill set for AI. I mean, based on the data that they have and the fact that most people have 30 to 50% unclean data, to call it something, should they be doing AI?
Yeah. So let me give you one example. Let me give you one example
Yeah.
of something that I will say, go ahead and do it. You are a pharmacy in Mexico City and you have a distribution channel where you sell locally. Okay. You
Mm-hmm.
sell to different pharmacies and you sell, whatever, product you're selling. If you want to reduce costs, okay, optimize, looking there first with AI, because most likely you're going to have good data in your distribution point that are going to tell you, I deliver at this time, I deliver at that time, and you can improve your routes. Okay. So that will be a good example where you can start, very simple. Okay. Now, you say, I want to sell more. Well, maybe I don't want to sell directly to the pharmacies. I want to sell direct to consumer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then since you're going to start from scratch, then put together conversational AI through WhatsApp in Thinking Latin America and do everything through that channel. But you need to test it. You need to put it on a pilot. You need to have some metrics. You need to have, bring the history data that you have already in your supply chain to start putting that together. So that will be two good examples, where you can start applying AI, very basic.
But
And
there's
listen,
no customer data in that.
oh yeah, why not? Yeah,
I mean,
delivering to the customer on time. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. But I mean, you're talking about optimizing processes and solutions internally, not like exposed to the customer.
Yeah, yeah. There's customer data. That could be another topic, Esteban.
Oh,
But
there will be many conversations to follow up this, because I mean, we got only 1 minute, right? But so far, what what I've heard is like, this is complex, it's expensive, it requires people you don't have, skills you don't have, and things you don't want to do. And if you do it right, you make it quick ROI, but it's just an ongoing concept. So even if you get quick ROI, it's going to keep going forever. That's what I heard so far for governance.
yeah, and I want to keep it very simple. If you're a
Yeah.
CXO or whoever is listening to this, and you need to discuss data governance, you need to be sure that you know where you are today with your data, the status of how clean your data is, how accurate it is consistent, is complete. Pick values, understand where you are with that, and pick a metric. That's how you need to start. As simple as
All
that.
right. What did I forget to ask, or what did I forget to mention in the last minute that we
Why
have
I'm wearing my Marlins hat? Because
Who the hell cares, dude? Who the
I
hell
know.
cares? That's just sports shit that nobody gives a fuck about.
I do.
Sorry.
I
I know
do.
you do.
You
I
don't
know
even
you
you
do.
don't even you don't give a damn about soccer being Argentinian, but that's fine.
Marlins are delicious. That's all I know.
I know they're I know. Good fish. It's a good fish. Good fish. Well,
Why are
we're
you
in the
wearing?
playoffs, so
Why you were? Are you in the playoffs?
yeah, we're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So let's see how
congrats,
it
man.
goes.
Just make sure that
Okay.
none of your players will start dating Taylor Swift or anybody like that, because then they'll never win again.
I
Anyways,
know,
we
I
have
know.
we have about a minute. That was actually fantastic. I really appreciate your summary and everything. We will have you back for another conversation. There's no way we haven't even scratched the surface of data governance, right? Am I right on this or not?
Yeah, I mean, again, is anything that I'm telling here is common sense. I mean, you need to be sure that you sit down,
Yeah.
you start the conversation.
Okay.
Start with the common sense conversation.
Okay.
Then you're gonna get to the serious conversation. But you need to tell stories. You need to identify where your data is.
So
And
that
you need to
yeah.
start by doing that.
That's
That's
actually a good plan. We had the basic conversation on data governance. We'll have you back in a few weeks to have the next conversation, and then the next one, and start getting more serious conversations. And with that, thank you, a million thank yous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that you rushed back from Orlando to be here, so I really appreciate that. And we'll see you next week with another show. I think it's going to be a great one. If I could remember what it is, I think it's John Reed and I talking about something really important, but I won't know until I get back to understanding. So thanks very much. We'll see you next week, and thanks, Jesus.
Take care, man.